it says this is the seventh seal, and then the seventh seal is going to sound the seven trumpets. On the seventh trumpet, then you have the seven bowls or the seven vials. But on Revelations 8, verse 1, there is silence in heaven for a space of a half an hour. And this is to the last chance to repent, last chance for the gospel, a last chance for men who are still alive, who have endured up until this time, a last chance to be a Christian or to be saved. This is what this is talking about in Revelation chapter 8, verse 1. So it's the opening of the seventh seal, silence for half an hour, and then after that, then you have the trumpets that begin to sound. The seven angels having seven trumpets. One of the great angels is going to be standing before the throne of God. And we also looked at who that angel was. And then the first angel is going to sound. Fire, hail, mingled with blood. Third part of the trees are going to be destroyed. All of the green grass is going to be burned up. Now, you're looking at the last 3.5 years of the Great Tribulation. And when you get to verse 9, you are going to be in the last few months of the Great Tribulation. And I'll explain that here in just a second. Because you'll notice that all green grass is going to be burned up. All right? In verse 7 of chapter 8. Second angel, just remember that. Second angel is going to sound the trumpet. A gigantic meteor is going to come out of the sky. John described it as a great mountain burning. And a third part of the sea is going to become blood. A third part of the creatures are going to die. And all of the ships, all of the military are going to be destroyed. You'll have to remember that when you're dealing with, when he mentions the word ships, it deals with military. All aspects of military. All right, so no military. Everything is basically destroyed. Third angel is going to come part. It's going to take place. Third part of the rivers and the waters from the mountains are going to be undrinkable. And it says the name of the star was called Wormwood, which means detestable or poison or undrinkable in verse 11. Now, you get to verse 12, all right, and it's going to get much worse. When you get to chapter 9, several months have passed. Several months have passed. You remember now back in verse, I want to try to slow down, in verse 7 of chapter 8, it says that the third part of the trees are going to be gone, and then all of the grass is going to be gone. It says all of green grass is going to be burned up. So it's basically like a moonscape. It's going to be like a desert, according to verse 7 of chapter 8. All right, now this is worldwide. This is not taking place in our little part of the country. This is actually worldwide. So when you get to verse 12, now the fourth angel is going to come, and he's going to sound his trumpet. All right, now, we've already been through the scenarios. Medical emergencies are gone. Police officers are gone. No law and order is gone. I believe, in my opinion, that you have not had electricity the whole time since when the Great Tribulation begins, because one car on County Road 52 can knock down one power line and take out all the drilling at the same time. So when the rapture comes, cars, trucks, airplanes, everything's going to come crashing down. All electricity is going to be gone. So in my opinion, they've been living without electricity for going on 4 or 5 years now. All right, by the time you get to chapter 9. Hospitals, medicine, gone. Food, if you can find food, is rare. If you can find water, it is very rare. If you can find any type of medical supplies, it is rare. Now, remember again, this is worldwide. You're dealing with people, gigantic countries in China. You're dealing with Russia. You're dealing with America. This is worldwide. This is a worldwide catastrophe. Okay, guys? Basically, you are going to be returned to as cavemen would live, living like cavemen. Your houses are probably going to be destroyed. They're going to be ransacked. They're going to be, people's going to be breaking in, taking what they can. It's going to be martial law is not even going to be declared. It's going to be every man for himself. It's total chaos. So you can't pick your phone up. You have no electricity. You can't call Geraldine or Jimmy Harris down at the sheriff's department and say, get out here. Everything's just total chaos. We, of course, as a church, are going to be gone. We're going to be poured up. Some people do not believe that. Some people think that you're going to go through the first 3.5 years of the tribulation. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday about this, and he was teaching this in his church, and he told his congregation, and I think it's true, he told his congregation, he said, listen, if you find yourself standing before the great white throne judgment, you're already going to hell. So, in my opinion, if you find yourself during the Great Tribulation, you're done. I mean, what's the chances of you surviving up into this? What's the chances of you surviving up to chapter 9?
Very
Slim to none. In actuality, we are a Gulf Coast state. We are 6 hours, 7 hours from the ocean, right? All this is going to be taking place in the waters. Now, when you get to verse 12, an angel, fourth angel. Now remember, it's not even got really, really bad yet. Remember, it tells us in the book of Matthew, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. You have not even got halfway through the trumpets. Now you still have to deal with the bowls that's going to be poured out. You have not even yet to begin to see the worst of the worst come out. All right? Still, according to the scriptures, the worst instead of the best, the worst is yet to come. Because I want you to look. The fourth angel in verse 12. The fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, third part of the stars, and the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. So total chaos. There's no light, there's no electricity, there's no nothing. You're living in the dark ages, basically. The only thing that keeps us, everything kind of in order, that controls the tides and everything, is going to be the moon. The sun, I don't know if we went over this a few weeks ago, but so many days without the sun, so many months without the sun, temperature on land will drop well below 100, below zero, because what warms the earth? Sun. Coldest places on earth, Siberia. There are places in Siberia that, and I've read about this, there's places in Siberia that if you're going to bury a body, if they die, you have to build a fire on the ground, let it thaw a little bit, dig it up, build another fire, dig it up, build another fire, dig it up, till you get 6 feet. And the sun is shining there. Imagine what it's going to be like when there's no sun. So people's going to freeze to death. It is going to be, the word awful does not even describe what is going to be happening on the earth. And it says, and I beheld, look at verse 13, and I beheld, and an angel flying through the midst of the heaven, all right, with a loud voice. How loud can this voice be if it's going to be heard worldwide? Extremely loud. Okay? Woe. Now remember, in Greek and Hebrew, there are no punctuations. All right? There's no exclamation point. If you wanted to really drive something home with importance, you would repeat it twice. But if you really wanted to drive something home with the uttermost importance, you would repeat it 3 times. And the only time that words are going to be repeated in the Bible is going to be 2 words. It's going to be holy, 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 and whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay? Holy, holy, holy describes God's power, His grace, His mercy, His long-suffering, all the attributes about God. Woe, woe, woe is not to anybody except to the inhabitants. Notice they are not related, they are not described as human beings, as people, as souls, as bodies. They are just inhabitants. People that are just here trying to get through, or trying to survive. And the angel comes, and the message is not, come to Christ, come to an old-fashioned altar, salvation's here. It is going to be woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth by reason of the other voices of the trumpet of the 3 angels which were yet to sound. I want you to look at this. The reason that they are being warned, and they are not being warned to take cover or to get right with God, they are being warned that it's going to get a lot worse. And the reason is because they say there's going to be 3 more trumpets that's going to be blasted. So if you're living here on the earth, right now, you can turn on the TV and you can see people committing the most god-awfulest crimes in the world. But once the church is pulled up, Holy Spirit's gone, and you're dealing basically with a grace that is an enduring type, just endure, give your life for Christ, salvation. And people now, after verse 8, which salvation is gone, imagine the actions of people. And it's going to get worse. Okay? Woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, by reason of the other voices of the trumpet, of the three angels which were yet to sound. Now, when you get to chapter 9, you are dealing with the last part of the tribulation. Remember what was burned up in verse 7. How much of the grass was burned up? All of the grass. All right, now, keep that in mind. And it says, and the fifth angel. We don't know the time span between chapter 8 and chapter 9. Okay, but it's not very long. But in chapter 9, this is what happens. A fifth angel is going to sound. Okay? Remember, look at verse 4 and just underline green thing and tree. All right? And then keep verse 4, chapter 9 in mind, and chapter 8, verse 7 in mind. Okay? Now, and it says, the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star. Okay, we're going to stop right there. A star fall from heaven. All right, now, who is this star? If you go to Isaiah, now remember, it falls from heaven. Okay? Now, go to Isaiah chapter 14. I hope I got this right. Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12, I think. This is Isaiah 14:12. Now remember that the star is described as something that will fall from heaven. The word fall means to be cast out or thrown out. Okay? In Isaiah 14:12 it says, how art thou, what is that word? Fallen from heaven, who? Who's the only person that's ever been thrown out or fallen from heaven? Lucifer. All right, go to, I apologize, my nose feels like I could take a stick and ramp it. It's itching me to death. Revelations 12:7 and 9. And there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, which is Satan, and the dragon fought against his angels and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast, but in the Greek it says, and the great dragon fell out. So the great dragon is Satan. In Isaiah, he is described as being thrown out. In Revelations, he is being described as thrown out in chapter 12. So in actuality, if you go back to Revelations chapter 9, who is this star that is being fallen from heaven? Lucifer. Okay? Now remember, you only have two places in the afterlife. You have heaven and you have hell, right? By the time you get to this, and people say, what's Satan doing in heaven? He has access through the throne of God. You remember the book of Job? Where does Satan go? He goes right up into heaven. And when all the angels come, let's see if I can find it really, really quick. When all the angels come in the book of Job and they present themselves before God, Lucifer himself also presents himself before God. If I can find it. I don't want to spend, here it is, Job. And it says in Job chapter 1, verse 6. Job chapter 1, verse 6. Now there was a day when the sons of God come to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also with them. So he has access to heaven. Okay? And you often hear people say, well, the devil's, been really on my back. And I want to tell you something. The devil does not want to fool with you right now. You know why? Because his time is extremely short. What he's worried about is trying to figure out when Christ is going to come back. And he's going to try to get everything assembled so he can try to defeat God. And it's not going to happen. All right? Satan right now, according to Revelations, verse 9, Revelation chapter 9, chapter 12, and in Job, more than likely, where does Satan spend 99% of his time? In heaven. But he's finally going to be cast out. What does he leave down here to rule? Satan. Demons. Okay? Now, and it says, the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven. Now, the only time you ever hear of Satan being on earth is in Genesis, Garden of Eden, and when Jesus is in the wilderness. Okay? Now, when you have the madmen of the Gadarenes, that's not Satan, that's the demons. Every other time you hear about Satan, he has had access to the throne of God. Okay? Now, by the time you get to Revelation chapter 9, he is going to be, this is him being basically booted out of heaven again. Okay? And it says, the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth. And to him was given, somebody had to give him this. Now remember, in the first part of Revelations, who holds the key to death? Jesus Christ. So there are several keys up in heaven. Right now, there is a key to hell. Right now, God is in access of that key. But it's going to be given one day to a person called Satan. All right? Now, Revelation chapter 9. And it says, and I saw a star fall from heaven to the earth, and to him was given a key, one key, to the bottomless pit. All right? Now, we're going to stop there for a second. We all think that there's one place. Who's ever read Dante's Inferno? It's an old. Okay. It's about basically. I didn't know. I'm not talking about Dante's Inferno. Come on television about the volcano erupting. Dante's Inferno is basically about a guy that goes to the 7 portals of hell, and each portal has a different punishment. If you're not too bad, you go to the first one, second, and okay. I thought everybody had read that. I guess if you went to Crossville, you had to read that. Everybody else just kind of away. But anyway, when you look up the word pit and you look up the word hell, you get two different versions. Now, the word hell, when Jesus described them in the Gospels, is Gehenna, okay, in the Greek. And that was basically a garbage pit that sat on the outskirts of Jerusalem. Everybody's heard this. When you died, garbage, anything that died or any type of garbage, they would take them to this. It's on the outskirts of Jerusalem, and it was just a big, gigantic, buck's pocket size hole. And you just threw junk in there, and there was a fire that was lit down there all the time. And they would hire these Gentiles or these Samaritans to go down there and work it, because a Jew couldn't get near it. And it was just a continual burn. And they would say, back during the time of Jesus, you could look off to the west of Jerusalem, you'd see smoke. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's a continuous burn. When Jesus would describe hell, according in the Greek, he would use that word Gehenna. Now, there is another word. It is Tartarus that is used in Revelation chapter 9. It is not the same word that Christ is going to use in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and John when he describes hell. Okay? When John describes it, he is not using the same word. So he is talking about a different place. Okay? I looked this word up. Okay? And when I always say if you look it up in the Greek, originally this is written in Greek. Okay? So if you really want to go back, King James is not the original. Neither is the Geneva Bible. The original is Greek. So you go back and you look at the Greek, and you find out what John is saying. And he is using not the word kahana, he's using another word. And I looked that word up, and it is found in another place. It's actually found in 2 more places. Okay? The Greek word that John is using is actually also used in 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4. Let me find it really quick. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4. Yes, here it is. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4. It says, for if God spared not the angels that sinned and cast them down into hell, not Gehenna. This is the same pit that is described in Revelation chapter 9. And delivered them into chains of darkness. If something is in chains, what is holding that person in? A lock. What was used to unlock something? A key. All right? Keep that in mind. So these angels that are found in 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4 are locked up in chains, right? So when you get to 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4, it says they are down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto what? Judgment. Judgment on themselves or judgment upon us? It's a two-way road. Tribulation is judgment upon us, right? And when you get to Revelation chapter 20, they are also going to be judged. So they are going to do judging, and then they are going to be judged. So they are being held right now in a place that is not even described by Christ. John is going to describe it. And it's found in 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 4. All right? Now, if you go to Job, it's the same word that's going to be used in the book of, not Job, Jude. Jude is right before, I see people keep turning. Jude's right before Revelation. You go to Revelations and back up one. All right? If you go to Jude, there's only one chapter in Jude. If you go to Jude, verse 6 and 7, this is the same place that is going to be described in Revelation chapter 9. Right now, these things, whatever they are in chains. And they are being guarded. All right? But if you're in chains, you got to have a lock. And on that lock, you got to use a key to get loose. Who is holding that key right now? Thank God. It is Christ himself. But he's actually going to give that key to Satan himself and allow him to go unlock these, whatever they are. Okay? So if you go to Jude, verse 6, and it says, and the angels kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved. Who are these angels? These are the angels that was cast out with who? Satan in the first place. What book comes first? 2 Peter or Jude? 2 Peter. Now you've got Jude. He's describing the same angels. I want you to look. And the angels which kept not the first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved into everlasting. What are they in? So it's the same angel, or the same angel/demons that you find in 2 Peter, okay? Now, hath reserved into everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day. Same individuals, all right? But I want you to look how they are described, all right? Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth an example of suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. He is basically saying, Jude is the half-brother of Jesus. Jude is saying that the activities that are taking place, and I looked this word up in the Greek, and it basically is rounded out to the definition of worst of the worst. And it actually means under. If we think of hell being the lowest that we think we can go, there's a place that's even under that. And it's the worst of the worst. And it's these things that are chained, and I've read you 2 verses, that are chained and they are being guarded, but they are described as being in a place like Sodom and Gomorrah. What was Sodom and Gomorrah known for? Homosexuality. What were these things thrown into the pit for, or under it? Because they what? Had left their own habitation and reserved and chained, and they kept not their own habitation, and they are unto judgment to the days, and they gave themselves over to strange flesh, and they went after fornication. Okay? Don't ever tell me we should be okay with homosexuality. Okay? I'm not. Now, if a homosexual comes in this church, we're going to give them the gospel. We're going to give them the gospel. But that sin has always been described. When you look at that sin in the book of Genesis, it is the only sin that is ever described as being a sin where it's just total destruction. These angels that you see now in Jude, they was practicing what? Homosexuality. And he locks them up in chains. They are not in hell, according to John in the Greek, they are under it. Okay? Now, I didn't mean to stay on that long. I'm sorry, guys. Keep those individuals in mind. And he opened the bottomless pit. The same word when you see bottomless pit, it's the same word you're going to get in Jude and also in 2 Peter. He is going to unleash these things that are the worst of the worst. They are chained up right now, according to 2 Peter and also in Jude. But in Revelation chapter 9, they are going to be unlocked. They're going to have Satan's going to go, take a key, and unlock them. All right? Now, I know this sounds very far-fetched to read this and think, that don't even make no sense. But you have to remember that John is describing things that he has never seen before. He's just trying to use the best words possible. Now, let's look. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reasons, just by one reason. It's because of the smoke of the pit. All right? Now, and instantly there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. Remember, he is describing these the best he knows how. Okay? Locusts upon the earth. And unto them was given. Who gave them the power? Satan cannot give any power. Everything that's ever given to Satan, God has to hand it over to him, right? Remember in Job, he says, let me go torment. Oh, you can, I'll let you do that. So if Satan wants these things unleashed, he's got to get a key that is going to be handed over to him by who? Jesus Christ himself. They are given power, and this is very unusual. As the scorpions of the earth have power. All right? I was reading day before yesterday about scorpion stings. Since they said it's scorpions. The emperor, it's not the emperor scorpion, I can't even think of the name of it now. They said if you're stung by one, they said the thing a scorpion does is not like a snake. A snake will put enough venom in you just to basically get you away. They said a scorpion, what it will do is it will inject every bit of the venom that it has in it. They said in 30 seconds you'll be foaming at the mouth, rolling around in agony, chewing off your tongue, gouging out your eyes, clawing out your skin. They said it is that painful. Okay? These things have that kind of power. All right, now, what has everybody that is still here in Revelation chapter 9 been through so far? The worst of the worst. And you're looking at this thinking, okay, if you're stuck here on earth, you're thinking it cannot get any worse than what it is now. But when you get to Revelation chapter 9, they are given power as the scorpions of the earth have power. And it was commanded. Who's commanded these to do this? God. The only responsibility Satan has is what? To unlock them, let them go. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt. Now remember in Revelation chapter 8, what is all burned up by now? But when you get to Revelation chapter 9, what is finally back? The grass. So there has been a amount of time that has passed. So if we're dealing with the last 3.5 years, by the time you get to Revelation chapter 9, you're only just a few short months before the last. This is the end of it. It's wrapping it up. Because you'll notice a third part of the trees are gone and all the grass is burned up. But when you get to Revelation chapter 9, verse 4, it says it was commanded unto him, they hurt not the grass of the earth, nor any other green thing, or any tree. So your trees are back, some of your trees are back, and your grass is back. So there is a timetable that has taken place, right? Okay, now, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. Who are those people? The 144,000. You remember those 144,000 John the Baptist are going to be sealed. These things that have been chained up since whenever, some people say it's even back during the time of Genesis before the great flood. That's how long they've been there. That these things have been chained up. They're finally going to be released. And they are given power to do whatever they want to anybody they see except 144,000 individuals. Okay? The rest of it's fair game. All right? Now, and to them it was given, again, everything's given to these things, that they should not kill them, all right, but that they should be tormented for 5 months. Now, if you go to Revelation chapter 20, see if I can find it. God, you guys are quiet. Revelation chapter 20. And I saw an angel come down from heaven having a key. There it is again, to the bottomless pit, and a great chain in his hand. This is not Satan now, this is the regular angel. He's got a key and he's got a chain. What is released in Revelation chapter 9? What is taken away from him? Chains. When you get to Revelation chapter 20, the angel has a chain. He's going to put them back where they came from, right? So if they are allowed to do this for 5 months, and then when you get to Revelation chapter 20, this is before the 1,000-year tribulation, because the 1,000-year tribulation takes place in Revelation 20, verse 7. So you're really dealing with the last 5 months of the Great Tribulation when you get to Revelation chapter 9, because they're told for how many months they can do this? 5. And when you get to Revelation chapter 20, God says, okay, I've had enough. Take a big chain him up. So you're dealing with the last 5 months. The last 5 months, you've still got 3 more trumpets and 7 more bowls. Just in 5 months. All right? Again, we do not study this to be scared. We study this, it's a promise. We study this knowing that we are not going to be here, but we do not want friends and family to go through this. All right? Now, and to them it was given that they should not kill, but they should be tormented 5 months. For 5 months. And their torment was at the torment of a scorpion when he striketh the man. Now, I guess everybody's seen the news today. Aaron Hernandez killed herself. When people, and I've had this to affect my family, you may have had somebody to affect your family. When people get to the last end of the road, and they think, and it's not, what do they think their last option is? Death, suicide. Let's just get it over with, I'm done. It's not here. I heard a message one time called Death Takes a Vacation. This is the only time in history where death goes and it can't be found. Because if you've lived through the first 6.5, almost 7 years of this, since we're dealing with the last 5 months, if people are going to be at their end, now, you always have hope, right? If you're diagnosed with some god-awful disease, you have a hope that you want to be cured, right? Or you have a hope that your kids want to be saved. You got a hope something's going to happen. There's no hope now, not Revelation chapter 9. It's gone. So if man has no hope, what is left? Death. But guess what they are not going to be able to find? Death. Because it says, and in those days shall man seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. No, can't even commit suicide. Can you imagine how bad it is? You take a handful of pills, you can't even die. Take a shotgun, shove it in your mouth, pull the trigger, it doesn't kill you. Death's going to take a holiday. And you know why this happens? It's because God has given them over thousands of years for mankind to repent and come to Christ. We will get close to Christ for a little bit. Every time we have a war, I remember when I was in high school, Paul, you may remember this, when we was in high school, the first Gulf War. For a year, you couldn't pack nobody else in the church on Sand Mountain. As soon as we won it, what happened? Couldn't find them. After 9/11, what happened? There was churches actually building new churches because they thought they was going to get all these new members. What happened after about a year? Can't find them. God has given people ample time to repent. And repent. And they still turn their nose at God and say, no, not going to. Now, people are going to try to seek death, and it's going to. If you're a funeral director at this time, you're going to go out of business. There's not going to be any dead bodies. You're dealing with the last 5 months. Last 5 months before you stand before the great white throne judgment. Now he's going to describe these things. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses. And in John's time, the fastest animal was a horse. Prepared unto battle. And on their heads were like crowns of like gold. And their faces were faces of men. And they had hair as hair of a woman, and their teeth was the teeth of lions. They had breastplates as the breastplates of iron, and this is the sound of their wings. It was like the sound of chariots of many horses running their battle. Can you imagine being stuck here in this? And all of a sudden, he is describing them, I think, basically to a T. It's what they're going to look like. He says their wings are like chariots going through battle. They can't be killed because they got a breastplate on. They're going to be able to do to whoever they want to, however they want to, you ain't going to stop them. They're going to, for 5 months, do whatever they're going to torment men. People are going to try to seek death, and death is going to take a vacation. You're not going to be here. Now look at verse 10. And they had tails like the scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men for how many months? 5 months. And then when you get to Revelation chapter 20, the angel comes down with a chain. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, not hell. This is a bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, but whose Greek tongue is Apollyon. And that word means destruction. One woe is past. That's just one. Sounds pretty rough, don't it? But there's going to be 2 more after this. And you're sitting there thinking, good gosh, how much worse can it be? These angels that have been bound up in chains in this bottomless pit, they're too bad to even be put down in regular hell. He's got to reserve a special place for these things. Okay? And we think we know some rough people. These are, and he comes down, unlocks them, and says, all right, guys, 5 months, do what you want to. Right now, there is a door, I believe it's a door that is being held shut by the Holy Spirit. And it's keeping stuff like this out. But once that Holy Ghost is gone and we're jerked up out of here, floodgates are open. And it says, 1 woe is past. And now there's going to come 2 more hereafter. When you study this, people get scared and frightened.